Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of September 19, 2024, including another round of layoffs have hit Xbox, Battlefield is returning to its series roots, Tony Hawk games could be making a comeback after all, and more. On this week in Xbox history, in the year 2012, 12 years ago, Borderlands 2 was released for the Xbox 360. I know this is probably the most important Borderlands, right? Because this is the one like everyone remembers the most fondly. I feel like this is the one that came out and everyone was like, 2 years later when Destiny came out, was like, this is just Borderlands, but as an MMO, right? It's just a looter shooter, and then like thus the genre was created, right? Somewhere between this game and OG Destiny. A little bit of an admission. I never played the first Borderlands. I have played the second one, but only for like an hour and a half, maybe, like barely. And then I've never played any of the others, the third one or any of the spinoffs. I don't dislike Borderlands, nothing against it. It's just one of those things where it's like, I recognize that I would probably enjoy this game if I really took more time to give it the time of day, but like, I don't really love the humor style of the game. I don't know what it is. It's like, I love first-person shooters. I love Destiny. I like the grindy stuff, and in a more single-player context, it's like a more offline context, I should say. I feel like that's a good formula for a game that would make sense for me, but I don't know what it is about Borderlands. It just doesn't speak to me. I don't know. It gives me a little bit of that like try-hard energy that I'm like, that I feel like gaming has too much of. It's like look, we're trying so hard to be cool and nonchalant and funny and awesome, and we are being all those things, and look at my spiky hair. It's like, all right, we get it. You have a fucking tattoo. Like, calm down. I don't know. There's too much of that energy, like that over-the-top art in video games. Although, to be fair to Borderlands, the first Borderlands, which was 2009, I believe, right? I mean, that was kind of a really novel aesthetic at the time. There wasn't a whole lot doing that. It was like Borderlands, and then Rage did it, kind of, and then, yeah, I mean, that was like way before Fortnite and shit. So, like, I don't know. It was a pretty novel aesthetic and concept of a game and everything, especially for the time. I think Borderlands deserves a lot of credit. It definitely had a big impact on the industry, but I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. But I recognize it's an important game, so shout out to Borderlands, 12 years old this week. What's up, guys? Welcome to Xbox On Podcast. Mike Clark writes in and says, fantastic show as usual, Jesse. Wishing you an anniversary vacation that is as epic as this podcast. Sonic is back. Yeah, because we played Sonic music last week, and we will play Sonic music again this week. Mike Clark, I apologize. Sonic should always be a part of the podcast, so we will keep with it. Thank you for correcting me on my error, for pointing out the error of my ways, I should say. Now, I don't know if that was like a pun there, if that was like, if you're being cheeky. You said, wishing you an anniversary vacation that's as epic as this podcast. It wasn't really a vacation. It was just like an overnight staycation, I guess. I mean, we just drove 30 minutes up the road to Universal for the night to go do Halloween Horror Nights. But whatever. Fuck it. For 24 hours, it felt like a vacation. It was awesome. We had a really great time. So I didn't know if that was a pun because you said a vacation that's as epic, wink, wink, because Universal's currently building that brand new theme park, Epic Universe, which such a fucking stupid name for a theme park, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't extremely excited about it. It looks like it's coming together nicely. Looks like we got something really big and exciting to look forward to here in the Orlando market with this brand new theme park. So I'm really feeling Universal lately. It's kind of annoying. Hunter, I know you sometimes listen to the podcast. If you're listening, fuck you, because I was doing just fine. Like, I do the same thing to my love of theme parks that I do with video games. I don't dislike PlayStation. In fact, I love PlayStation. I grew up on PlayStation. Like, I grew up pretty agnostic with exposure to all video game consoles. The reason I don't have PS5, the reason I don't play PlayStation is because I have found in my life that I enjoy the things I love if I go whole hog into like one thing as opposed to trying to spread the field. So it's not that like iPhone is dumb, Android is better. It's like I just enjoy Android phones more, so I don't do iPhone anymore. I don't think Universal sucks and Disney is great. It's just I like Disney more than Universal, so I get more enjoyment having a Disney pass and going to Disney all the time as opposed to trying to split my attention and my money and my time between these two products. Same thing with PlayStation and Xbox. I love PlayStation, but last generation was the first time in a while I did the whole have the PlayStation and the Xbox thing and juggle them. And what I found is the few years where I had Xbox One and didn't have PS4 was a lot more enjoyable than the few years where I had PS4 and Xbox One, because you're just flipping it. It's like, all right, now I gotta go buy this game, and I gotta go buy that game, and I gotta go play that game, and I gotta play it over here, and so. But I feel like I get so much more enjoyment out of Xbox by just focusing all my attention on Xbox instead of splitting it between two platforms. That's why I'm happy to just play my PlayStation games on PC as they come, because the PC's there anyway, and then not have to be fully present on both platforms. I don't know. It's totally arbitrary. You could listen to me say this and be like, Jesse, you sound like a fucking crazy person. But to me, it just makes sense. Like, I enjoy Xbox more as a result of this. And anyway, the reason I bring this up is because I was doing fine the past couple of years. I haven't had my Universal Orlando annual pass for at least, it's been over 2 years at this point, and I was doing fine. I got my Disney annual pass, which I always say I'm never going to get rid of my Disney pass. Even if I have to leave Florida, I will never get rid of my Disney pass. That is like my one thing I cannot part without. But then, friend of the show, listener of the show, he's been on the show a couple times, Hunter, pulled some strings, got me into Universal one day this summer, and we spent an afternoon hanging out at Universal, and I was like, damn, I forgot how much I really love Islands of Adventure. Just that park specifically. It's really, really great theme park. And ever since that day, I've been like, fuck, I kind of want to get my pass back. And I've been fighting it. It's been like 3 months at this point. I've been fighting it every couple of days. I'm like, I think I'm gonna cave in and get my Universal pass again. But I'm not letting it happen. I won't let it happen. I'm trying to hold strong. I mean, I will eventually when that new theme park opens. I'm gonna have to get a pass so I can check it out, because it's going to be quote unquote epic. But I don't know. It's like I'll enjoy Disney the way I enjoy Xbox if I just go whole hog into it. Also, it's like the time. Oh my god, the time. Who has the time? I mean, I've been trying to play this one. We'll get to it into what I've been playing. I've been playing the same fucking game on Xbox for like 4 weekends in a row now, and I can't get through it despite it only being like a 10-hour game because I just can't find the fucking time to do anything. So anyway, and that's a good problem to have. There's a lot of good entertainment to consume. There's a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of people to see, things to do, things to be a part of. So it's all good stuff. But man, oh man, it is the best and worst time ever in history to like stuff, because there's just so much entertainment. There's so much shit, so much stimulation. I'm so stimulated right now. Anyway, speaking of stimulation, we're gonna have to move a little fast this week because we're having one of those weeks where I just got a late start to things. So it's all good. There's nothing too crazy in the news happening, so it kind of lends itself well. This week it is a lot more smaller scale news items, but definitely a couple things I'm excited to get into. Let's start out this week with the new games releasing, the notable game releases of the week. The Plucky Squire is the first one here. This game looks pretty cool. It looks kind of like a Zelda-like action-adventure style game. It's we saw it, man, where did we see it? It's a Devolver Digital published indie title, whatever, which is kind of an oxymoron. But anyway, I forget what Xbox event or Jeff Keighley event we saw this at initially, but this is one of those games that kind of like got a lot of attention because it has a really unique art style where it's like a pop-up book where you play as like the cartoons on the pages, like the drawings on the pages, but then you can pop off the pages and into the real world or into like a 3D world. And it has this kind of mechanic that's very much like Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds from Nintendo 3DS, where you can kind of like morph into the wall and be like this 2D object and interact in a 3D space. And it looks really cool. It looks like a really fun game. I don't know. It's so much to play. It's going to fall by the wayside, but definitely looks like if you're a Zelda fan, if you like action adventure style game, I mean, it's such a broad thing to say, but if you like more Nintendo-esque, maybe platformer, maybe action adventure, maybe light puzzle solving, dungeon crawling kind of thing, it looks like this is a lighthearted, rompy, indie, Zelda-inspired light game. And I don't know, it looks cool. For $30, not bad. But that comes out this week. Also, Star Wars Jedi Survivor for Xbox One. If you're like Jesse, I totally understand why you don't juggle Xbox Series X with PS5. That's a lot to juggle. But I have an even weirder kink where I refuse to get an Xbox Series X or S because I don't want it to take away from my experience on the Xbox One. And that is why I've been holding out for a year and a half to get Star Wars Jedi Survivor for Xbox One. Well, boy, gee whiz, now's your time, buddy. It's coming out September 17th. Get ready, get wrecked, get ready, get rectal, whatever the fuck it is they say, it's happening. And then also Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. We saw this one announced a couple weeks back, and here it is. It's already out. Optimized for Series S and X, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is a remaster of the... What year was the original one? 06? Early Xbox 360 Classic. Honestly, I feel like everyone likes the first one the most anyway. Maybe the second one, I don't know. But yeah, it seems like an appropriate time as we're getting close to Halloween. Pretty nice, $50. And then lastly, I just wanted to throw this one in there for me because I'm a fucking idiot. But Matchbox Driving Adventures comes out this week for $40. It is a smart delivery optimized for Series X title. This is some no-name publisher, no-name developer who got the Matchbox license from Mattel, which, fun fact, Mattel owns Matchbox and Hot Wheels, so they're not competing brands anymore. They haven't been for, 40, 50, 60 years at this point. I think it's like 50 years or something like that. I think they joined in like the 70s or 80s. I mean, they've been the same parent company forever. Anyway, but yeah, if you thought, wow, those Hot Wheels games are pretty good, I wish they still made shitty licensed racing games based on kids' toys. Have no fear, Matchbox Driving Adventures has you covered. I watched the trailer for this game because I love these kind of shitty licensed games. You guys know I love that stuff. And the in the trailer they're advertising, they're like, play with over 10. It says over 10 customizable vehicles. I'm like, listen, if you're touting a Matchbox or a Hot Wheels racing game, I feel like 10 vehicles is abysmal. That's like if a Call of Duty game launched with 3 multiplayer maps and 2 weapons. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? I mean, that's like a Lego game where it's like you can customize up all your characters with the 4 different Lego bricks. It's like, what the fuck, man? It's Matchbox. There are a lot more than 10 cars out there. Let's get like 40, 50, 60 cars in this fucking game. What the hell is this 10 cars? But anyway, it looks like it's a weird little mission based. There's races. There's like little sandboxy kind of environmental missions. I don't know what the fuck you're doing in this game. It looks janky. It looks cheap. It looks budgy. Honestly, like the kind of thing I'll probably buy for $8 one day and spend a weekend messing around with. But I don't recommend this to anyone. This is just me. I'm stupid enough to be like, yeah, Matchbox Driving Adventures is out this week. But nice. Smart delivery. What a cool get. Anyway, those are the games coming out this week that are of note. Just wanted to put that out there. But let's move into our corrections/updates, of which we do have one. I don't really want to get into this too much because this was a huge story. What was that? Last year? Was that 2 years ago? I just remember talking about this story, and it was cold outside, and I was living at the apartment at the time. So this must have been at least a year ago. But Unity has announced that they are scrapping their controversial runtime fee that got them in trouble, got their last CEO fired, and got basically everyone to abandon using Unity as a game engine. But yeah, September 2023. So okay, it wasn't cold out then; it was still sweltering hot in September. Anyway, so this was about a year ago, and blah 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 blah. Long story short, the company ended up having massive layoffs, firing their CEO, losing shit tons of money. And now instead of doing this controversial runtime fee that they were introducing a year ago, they're going to start doing a subscription model with Pro and an Enterprise subscription. I guess kind of like how Microsoft offers their subscriptions to like Office and stuff. And so rather than being able to charge people basically like an indefinite 8% or whatever the hell it is on everything they make, regardless of how well a game sells, they now choose, it's more capped. I don't know. Let me just read this for context. So while the Unity personnel will remain free, Unity personal, a personal account, so for like indie devs and stuff, that will remain free. Its revenue funding ceiling has been raised from $100,000 to $200,000. Unity Pro subscriptions will rise 8% to $2,200 annually, and Unity Enterprise subscriptions will rise by 25%. So basically, if you're like a small one-off developer just dicking around in Unity, and you make a game and it sells well, Unity is entitled to make up to $200,000 in revenue off of your game based on its performance. But I mean, if your game doesn't make dick on Steam, which most games don't, then you don't have to worry about it. But for businesses, for enterprises and stuff that use Unity, they're being hiked a little bit more on the subscription. But at least hopefully this is a lot less of a nuisance than the old system. I don't really remember all the details and specifics, to be honest, because this kind of story makes me want to fucking vomit and spin my head because it's not fun and it's not about Sonic the Hedgehog or Guitar Hero. So I'm just going to kind of gloss over it, just kind of bring to light. Yes, The story's in the news. It's happening. I don't think anyone's really all that interested in it, though. It's important, no doubt, for the developers and the studios that use Unity and create the games we love in this engine. But to all of us who just want to play some good video games, this is not as fun and controversial as PS5 is $700. Whoa, PS5 Pro. Now, we'll get into some more of that stuff with some comments later in the show, but just want to put that out there. Let's get into the mildly amusing stories. We got some Starfield news. We got some Tony Hawk, some Battlefield news. But first, I want to start with this one that happened today. This isn't technically Xbox news, but it is somehow related. And so let's just get right into it. So the Nintendo Switch, Super Switch, Nintendo Switch 2, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is basically coming out next year. That's all but confirmed. Originally, Nintendo was supposed to announce it sometime this fall, and then they are like, no, we're going to announce it probably next year. But we know we're months away from finding out about the next generation of Nintendo gaming hardware. And apparently some images of renderings of the device have leaked online. Now, it is notable people who are sharing these images, including not who leaked it, but who are sharing it. Andy Robinson of VGC and things like that. So the images initially appeared on Reddit from like various Chinese social media websites, which would make sense because these devices are probably already being manufactured in China, or at least some kind of model of it is. So anyway, long and short of it, the renderings of what the device is purportedly going to look like have been leaking online. And yeah, I just want to talk about this real quick because obviously we know Xbox is working on a gaming handheld device, and that means that will put that device in direct competition with devices like Nintendo Switch 2 or Super Switch or whatever the fuck they call it, as well as Steam Deck and things like that. So obviously this device is pertinent, it's relevant to the Xbox community because this gives us a look inside not only what the next Xbox or that Xbox gaming handheld will be up against as far as competition, but also maybe gives us some insight as to what kind of performance we might be able to expect from that. I mean, obviously, if Xbox is making something, you can assume it's probably going to be a little more tech savvy and a little more beefy than anything Nintendo's putting out to market, but Nintendo's got some interesting shit here. So basically, looking at the device, it just looks like the Nintendo Switch, but bigger and more refined. So the screen is now 8 inches as opposed to whatever the original one is, 6.5 inches or something. The device overall looks a little more rounded. Actually kind of looks like a little more like a giant PS Vita, like a PlayStation Vita, if you ask me. But yeah, the display looks a lot bigger, a lot nicer. The Joy-Cons still look like absolute ass, but you can see they've retooled some of the buttons, as well as the button you use to rip the Joy-Cons off of the Switch itself. And then, the kickstand on the back looks like it's much wider, so it's much more useful than that little wimpy, gimmicky snap plastic shit kickstand that the Switch currently comes with. And then when you slide a Joy-Con off the controller, it looks like the shoulder buttons are a lot more prominent, and they're kind of raised, and they look a little nicer. Some rumors suggest, based on patents, that they might be using some kind of magnet system, as well as that like guard click rail thing that the regular Switch has. Anyway, the reason I bring this up, at first I saw this and I was like, it looks kind of like the same Switch. It's a little disappointing, a little boring. But then it's like, wait, what the fuck do you expect it to be? It's just, of course, it's just going to be the same thing, just more powerful. I mean, much in the way it's like, I don't really expect the next Xbox to be anything shy of just a more powerful Xbox. It's like, why would you expect Nintendo's next device to be anything but the same form factor, but refined and more powerful? Apparently this thing is going to have 12 gigs of RAM, which puts it in line with like modern cell phones for RAM, and also have onboard 256 gigabytes of internal storage, which is a massive upgrade from the regular Switch, which came with 32 gigs of onboard storage. So we're moving from like an iPhone 3GS to like an iPhone 16 in terms of storage size here. So it's pretty notable. Obviously, we don't know much about like the processor or anything like that, which is more of the interesting stuff. But just knowing that alone, we're moving from 4 to 12 gigs of RAM says that they're probably looking to put some pretty modern looking games on this. I would be surprised if the Nintendo Switch wasn't able to at least run games that like an Xbox Series S can run. I think they're probably gunning for something in that territory, maybe a little uglier, maybe a little worse than the Series S, but something to that effect. We're looking at that level of power, generally speaking, is my guess, because I assume that is what Xbox is kind of also gunning for, is creating a handheld that has the capability and the power roughly of an Xbox Series S. And so that's kind of like the barometer. It's like, if we can make handhelds that kind of do that level of work, I feel like we'll be in a pretty good place for handheld gaming, dedicated handheld gaming, moving into the next generation. Although I could be totally wrong. I don't know shit. You guys know at the end of the day, I'm not like a super techie hardware guy. I'm pretty basic with my understanding and knowledge of this stuff. But that just feels right. Like you want a gun for something kind of like that because you can strike that balance of affordability as well as having enough power to play a lot of more modern games, even if they're a little more dumbed down, while also not like overpricing. Because I feel like a lot of fans, they don't understand this. They're just like, it should be the most well, this is the most powerful processor on the market, so it should have this processor. And it's like, chill the fuck out, man. Things got to be like reasonable cost wise. Like these things got to be sold at a decent price. I'm guessing. This is a hard thing to pinpoint. I'm guessing the Switch 2 will probably retail for $400, like $399. But I don't know, man. It's like they're gonna be pushing it. Shit is expensive. Nintendo wants to make money on their hardware. This is gonna be a hard thing to key in on. So we're seeing like 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage on board. But what more about this processor? You know, the Xbox Series S is a $300 device. Could we, you know, for $100 more, could we get something to that effect in the form factor of a handheld? It seems doable, you know, just off gut feeling, but I wonder because I feel like that's kind of the sweet spot for that device, and I feel like that's what Xbox is gunning for as well, right? A dedicated gaming handheld. I feel like Xbox is probably shooting for more of the $400 to $500 price range, but honestly, I feel like $400 is the sweet spot because with inflation, I mean, I know people like to rag on PlayStation for the PS5, but the Pro, that is, but some of that $700 price tag is also inflation in addition to, you know, you're paying for a premium device and all the rest. But like, I think we're going to see that with the next Nintendo's hardware and the next round of Xbox hardware as well, is that, you know, the current economic status around the world with governments and the currency valuations and inflation and everything, we're going to see consoles are going to be a little pricier than we're used to seeing. So, I mean, the Switch was a $300 device, so I feel like $400 for Switch 2 seems moderately reasonable. Nintendo historically is pretty much the best about trying to keep costs down for the consumer as much as possible, because when your device is, you know, you need your device to be able to sell to parents for children. You need to keep that cost as low as humanly possible to penetrate as much of that market. You got to penetrate those kids is what Nintendo's trying to do. They're trying to penetrate your children, so they got to keep the cost down in order to get past mom and dad. That's what I'm guessing. So I don't know, just gleaning off that information to try and make sense of where Xbox is probably at with their Xbox dedicated gaming handheld. It's exciting stuff. I mean, listen, I rag on Nintendo all the time. I rag on Switch as a longtime Nintendo fan who kind of fell off only around, honestly, and I was on board for like the first 2 years of Switch 2. It's like around that time, 2018, 2019, I kind of got sick. I was like, I feel like I'm Nintendo'd out. Like I've eaten enough of this fucking Chinese buffet to the point where I want to throw up. And that's not some like ignorant racist joke about Nintendo being a Japanese company. It's like, you know, it's like you go to like a buffet and you're like, this is awesome. This is great. And then by plate 3, you're starting to question the choices you've made with your life. That's kind of how I felt about Nintendo by like that second year mark of this Nintendo Switch, where it's like I spent my whole life adoring this company: Game Boy, SNES, N64, GameCube, DS, Wii, everything. You know, I love it all. But I'm at a point now where I just feel like I'm over this shit for the most part. But I still have a soft spot for Nintendo. I still play my Switch from time to time. There's about one game every year I'll go back and play or something. But whatever this thing is, I'm hyped. I'm just hyped for new hardware. I'm hyped to see what Nintendo does next. I feel like with more power comes the opportunity for them to get better third-party support and not just like ports of PS4 and Xbox One games. So I look forward to seeing maybe what the Switch 2 can pull off and surprise us with. I don't know. I'll probably end up picking one of these things up pretty early on, to be honest. So we'll see. Looks promising. Looks like more Nintendo Switch. I can't wait to work my ass to get my hands on one of these, only to play like 2 games its entire life cycle. But that's kind of idiot I am. You know, whatever. There's always going to be a little corner in my heart where I keep Nintendo, even if I rag on them. So this is Nintendo Switch 2, Super Switch, whatever the hell they call it. I think they should go with Super Switch just because it's a fucking cool sounding name. Like, if no reason other than it just sounds cool. All right, guys. Starfield Shattered Spaces. So this week we got a 9-minute deep dive video on the expansion that is set to come out on September 30th in just, what is that, like a little over a week now? So, Yeah, man, looking forward to it. Obviously, everyone's very excited in the Starfield community and the Bethesda community to see what's next. This expansion is probably going to bring a lot of life into this game and hopefully give it that second injection of like, hey, maybe this game wasn't as bad as we thought it was a year ago, and start that revisionist history that every game seems to experience these days where, ooh, the game came out and the internet told me to hate it. I hate this game. And then a year later, it's like, well, this YouTuber said maybe I was wrong about Starfield for clicks a year later, and so maybe I changed my entire opinion on the game now. And I feel like Shattered Space is the beginning of that conversation, and so I look forward to Starfield entering its post hate it kind of phase and enter into its maybe we were wrong about this game phase. For $30, I'm looking forward to it. Of course, you already have this DLC if you bought the premium edition of the game last year. When they were doing like the pay extra $30, get the game 5 days early, plus get next year's DLC. So for a lot of us, we already have access to this DLC, and yeah, it looks good. I did not watch the 9-minute deep dive. I'll be honest, I have nothing to say about what's in the trailer because I just want to go dark on it. It's like I already know I love Starfield. I already know I'm going to love whatever this is. I've seen some of the tonal stuff from the early trailers. I'm already sold on this game. I don't need to see anything. I'm going to play this game when it comes out. And it looks great from what we saw a couple weeks back, and I'm excited. So, Starfield, I cannot wait to jump back into you. Be well, Starfield. Todd Howard says it's equivalent in scale and scope to Fallout 4's Far Harbor expansion, which I never played, so it's a really good reference point for me. All right, next up, let's talk about Battlefield. Oh, sweet Battlefield. So let's read from VGC real quick, shall we? Electronic Arts has revealed the first details on the next Battlefield game, which is currently in production at multiple internal studios. Respawn and Infinity Ward co-founder Vince Zampella, who is now overseeing the Battlefield franchise, told IGN that the series is returning to a modern setting with their upcoming title. The first piece of concept art for the game, which is viewable above if you go to the article, if you go online to IGN and all that, points to the inclusion of land, sea, air, and air combat. So Zampella says, quote, I mean, if you look back at the peak and the pinnacle of Battlefield, it's that Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 era where everything was modern. And I think we have to get back to that core of what Battlefield is and do that amazingly well. And then we'll see where it goes from there. But I think for me, it's about that peak Battlefield-ness in the Battlefield 3 and 4 days. So I think there's nostalgia for the players, for me, and for the teams even. Those are the kind of heyday, although I would say 1942 also. Elsewhere in the interview, Zampella said that the game will ditch the 128-player matches that plagued Battlefield 1948, as well as the unpopular specialist system, or what was it? Battlefield 2042 is what it was called. My bad. As well as the unpopular specialist system that the game had, in favor of the franchise's traditional 64-player battles with a traditional class system. So he says, quote, we're designing something that is more akin to previous Battlefields. I'd rather have a nice, dense, really well-designed play spaces. Some of them are really good. I can't wait for you to see some of them. Specialists will not be coming back, so classes are kind of the core of Battlefield, and we're going to go back to that. While EA hasn't confirmed a launch window for the game, Zampella said that while some of the players that some players will be able to sample it from next year, so they'll have some kind of play test or inside whatever closed alpha type deal at some point next year, whatever. We don't got to get into that. So I like what I'm hearing here from Vince Zampella because it's like this is all the right things, right? Like this is what you would think Battlefield needs to do. It's anytime something gets away from itself. It's like the Halo Infinite approach. All right, we got ahead of ourselves. We changed too many things. Fans are pissed about all the new stuff. What do? Let's get back to basics. Let's change the art style. Let's put it back on a Halo ring. Let's pretend the last game never happened, even though it ended on a cliffhanger. Let's go back to basics. So this is Battlefield doing just that. They're saying, when was the last time Battlefield was like objectively great and no one argued about it? I remember, so Battlefield 4 had a lot of controversy, but it was because of like performance issues at launch and server issues. But the game itself, people liked. Battlefield 3. I remember Battlefield 3. I remember like just being in my tech theater class in sophomore year of high school, junior year of high school, or whatever the fuck that was, and like just fucking dying because my buddy was like texting me. He's like, all right, as soon as we get out of school today, we're hopping in my car, we're going to GameStop, we're going to pick up Battlefield 3. And I was like, yes. And I just remember like being in tech theater class, like hiding in the back like pretending to be moving paint cans or whatever the fuck I was doing, just hiding, because I was like, oh my god, as soon as like 3:30 or whatever time I get out of high school ends or comes, I'm just, dude, fucking Battlefield 3. I remember that was the last time I was ever like genuinely hyped about a Battlefield game. And Battlefield 3, not gonna lie, that game was fucking good. Those were good times. That's probably the last Battlefield game that I truly loved. Although I know Battlefield 1 gets a lot of love. Battlefield 1 is a good game. I like it. But dude, Battlefield 3, those were some good days. Before that, Bad Company 1 and 2, my favorite Battlefields of all time. And then, of course, 1942 and 1943. So, yeah, Battlefield definitely has some high points in the franchise, and it's awesome to hear him say, hey, we're going back to the last time people liked this franchise, because ever since Battlefield 4, it's been a roller coaster, right? Battlefield 1, people liked it. Battlefield 5, people hated it. Battlefield 2042, people hated it. So it's like, all right, let's just take it easy. Let's figure out what works. What I find really interesting about this, though, is like during those those heydays of like Battlefield 3 and stuff, it's like that's Vince Zampella. That's when you were with Infinity Ward over on Activision making Modern Warfare 2 and 3. Like, what are you talking? You weren't there for Battlefield. Like, you were competing against Battlefield. And it's always weird saying competing, because it's like, it's not like the Ford F-150 versus the Dodge Ram 1500, where it's like you got the same truck with two different badges and a bunch of fucking rednecks bitch and moan about which one's slightly better than the other. It's like no, Battlefield and Call of Duty are like, they're like two different games. I get that they're military and they're online first-person shooters, but they're different. Like, Call of Duty is like, fuck physics, fuck realism. It's a game of laser tag, but with guns, you know? And then, like, Battlefield is like, all right, what if destructibility, and what if slow moving, and what if squads, and what if giant maps, and what if like role playing, not like RPG role playing, but you know what I mean, like playing your role, leaning into the your character's various perks and pros and cons based on their class and things like that. So I don't know, it's like Battlefield, very team oriented, very big map, large battle kind of oriented, grand scale destruction. Call of Duty is more like run and shoot, listen to like a hip-hop album in the background and smoke a vape pen while you get a kill streak and tell your mom, fuck you, I'm not taking out the trash because this guy I just no-scoped is trash. You know, there's a difference between the two. And while obviously Respawn, Vince Zampella, his leadership, his tutelage, have been able to prove time and time again, give us a project, we will not let you down. But whether it's Modern Warfare, or whether it's Titanfall, or whether it's Apex Legends, or whether it's Star Wars Jedi, whatever the case it is, you give them a task, they fucking kill it. The thing is, this isn't Vince Zampella and Respawn, this is Vince Zampella leading the Battlefield teams. And I just feel like you got this guy who has a great track record, but isn't the Battlefield guy, and he's trying to lead the ship for Battlefield going forward. I mean, maybe I don't know, maybe DICE and the various teams that work on Battlefield just need better leadership, and that's what Vince Zampella is here to do, and he's going to lead them to victory. But I just feel like, I don't know, there's something a little weird about this guy being like, what was the heyday of Battlefield 3? Oh, or of the Battlefield franchise. Oh, it was Battlefield 3, but he's really just referring to a time when he was over at Activision directly competing against Battlefield. I mean, who knows? Maybe behind closed doors he was just a big fan of Battlefield, and that's what he was playing in his free time. Maybe. I don't see why not. But it's just kind of funny to me to think about. It's like you're looking back to like this time and place where you were not even remotely involved with this product. You were competing against it with something completely different. But in any case, he's saying the right things. It's going to get people excited. I think people are going to be really eager to see a Battlefield that stops trying to be cute and pull out new tricks and just tries to nail the basics. And that's exactly what it sounds like they're doing. So for that reason alone, I'm looking forward to Battlefield, whatever the hell it's called. Although Battlefield 2042, I gotta say, I feel like that game gets a little more shit than it deserves. But this is promising stuff. So we'll keep our eyes peeled. I suspect next year we'll get the full reveal of what this game's going to be all about. So let's look forward to that. All right, speaking of hay in the day or whatever the hell, Tony Hawk has teased anniversary plans for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, which turns 25 this year. And he said that he's talking to Activision about the franchise. Speaking on Mythical Kitchen, the legendary skater said that there is something planned for the anniversary, but he wouldn't draw out specifics. Quote, I wish I could tell you more, but I can't. And I've been talking to Activision again, and we're working on something, said Tony Hawk. It's something that fans will truly appreciate. Tony Hawk claimed that in 2022, a second collection of remakes following Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 was planned, until developer Vicarious Visions was absorbed into Activision entirely, put to work doing bitch support for Diablo because Activision's just the worst. Quote, that was the plan even until the release of 1 and 2 Remake. Hawk said, we were doing a 3 and 4, then Vicarious Visions was absorbed, and they were looking for other developers, and then it was over. He added, the truth is that Activision were trying to find somebody to do a 3 and 4, but they just didn't really trust anyone to do it the way Vicarious Visions did it. So they took other pitches from other studios, like, what would you do with this Tony Hawk game? And they didn't like anything that they heard, and then that was it. Who knows, maybe when the dust settles, we'll figure it out. So that's what he said at the time, et cetera, et cetera. He's working with Activision now, and what we're hearing is that they're putting something together, and people are going to be excited about it. So my guess is that this is my assumption, is that Xbox leadership came in there after they acquired Activision and basically said, hey, you guys keep doing what you're doing with Call of Duty because we really, really, really need to lean on Call of Duty to make this whole deal work and to sustain Game Pass as much as we can and to drive interest and engagement with Xbox up and all these things. Like, we desperately need Call of Duty to be the money machine it is in order to justify this exorbitant purchase we just made with Activision. However, we here at Xbox believe in some of the other Activision properties that have fallen by the wayside in recent years. And, if anyone's got an idea for Tony Hawk this or Guitar Hero that or Skylanders, fucking Spyro, Crash, whatever, speak up. And my guess is that someone somewhere pitched something to Xbox and they liked the idea of celebrating 25 years of Tony Hawk, and now something's happening. Whether it is maybe it's like some Tony Hawk's Pro Skater greatest hits, and it's like all like the best couple of maps from each game, or maybe it's some new game, or maybe it's just the millionth re-release of the first game. Who knows? But it is exciting to know that, and it seems like this is the first instance of, now that Xbox owns Activision, someone somewhere somehow is going to get to work on some of these dormant IP and franchises that Activision just fucking... And listen, I don't want to get too excited because at the end of the day, the 99% of what Xbox is going to do with Activision is exactly what Activision was doing before, which is feed the Call of Duty money machine, because you need to do that in order to justify this purchase and make your money. But it does seem like someone somewhere, between the rumors percolating about maybe some Transformers games getting reactivated for backwards compatibility and getting those licenses renewed, rumors percolating about maybe some old Marvel games getting licenses renewed and getting put onto modern hardware through backwards compatibility. Maybe some of these rumors now about Tony Hawk coming straight from the fucking Hawk's mouth, about maybe some new Tony Hawk video game content. It just sounds like someone somewhere, Toys for Bob splitting off from Activision, doing something, but they're making a game for Xbox. Someone somewhere is making something from Activision or for Activision that isn't Call of Duty, and it has nothing to do with Blizzard or all the naked chicken women from fucking Fortnite or whatever they call that game, Overwatch. And maybe, just maybe, we're getting a Guitar Hero or a Tony Hawk or a Transformers or a Spider-Man. God fucking damn it, please. It's kind of insane. Like, Activision over the years has had kind of the best IP to work with. Hulk, X-Men, Spider-Man, Tony Hawk, Guitar Hero, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon. And don't get me wrong, I'll put Call of Duty up there. Call of Duty's a great IP. Call of Duty games are great. But everything had to die to support Call of Duty, and it's just damn, that sucks. So Tony Hawk, don't be fucking, be still my beating heart and all that shit. Tony Hawk, don't be yanking our chain, or we'll fucking yank you off your skateboard when you're 45 feet in the air and see how you like it. You fucking Hawk man, sushi loving motherfucker. Why is that something I know about Tony Hawk, that he loves sushi? Why is that like a factoid about Tony Hawk that I know so well? Even though I'm not like a Tony Hawk aficionado. He's a cool guy. He seems like a nice guy. But for some reason, that's the thing I know about him. Why is that? Is that an interview or something? Why do I know that? Anyway, guys, that's it for our opening news stories. I'm already losing it. We're 20 minutes in and I'm already losing it. But hey, we're going to get into the main news this week. But first, we're going to talk about the games I've been playing this week. But before I can tell you about the games I've been playing, I got to tell you all about what it is I've been eating. You guys, I got a good one for you this week. So, Saturday after work, so I'm up there in Orlando. I'm going to a concert. I'm going to a festival. I'm going to a music festival called Punk in the Park. It was fucking awesome. It was a really cool event. So I'm up in Orlando trying to kill some time before I'm going to this concert, because this festival, because it's like an all day affair. It went from started at 12 noon and it went to 11 o'clock at night. So it was almost a full 12-hour day Just fucking punk rock music. But I'm up there in Orlando. I'm like, I'm trying to kill a little bit of time because I kind of want to skip the first few bands and get there maybe around like 2 o'clock because I don't want to spend too much of my day baking in the Florida sun. So I'm up there. I'm in Orlando, and it's far from home. Like from where I live, downtown Orlando is like 35 minutes from where I live if traffic's not terrible. So like I'm up there. I already had to be up there Saturday morning for something work related. So I was like, all right, I'm already up here. I'm not gonna go home for a few hours and then come back out. Let me kill some time here. So I'm like, let's just what do people do when they're bored? And it's like, oh, of course they get fat. So let me eat some food. So I pull up on Google Maps. I have like 250 restaurants and growing in this list on Google Maps called places I want to eat. And so anytime I'm in Orlando, I'm like, all right, let's do it. I'm downtown. Let's see what's going on. I go to Google Maps. I pull up places I want to eat at, and just boom, green dots all over the fucking map. Like you save this place, you save this place, you save this place. So I'm looking for something. I'm like, all right, I'm not sitting down. I'm not going to eat here by myself like a fucking like waiter table for one. So like, let's find something quick, casual, whatever. There it is. Beefy King, baby. Beefy King is a staple. It's a staple of the Orlando food scene. I mean, this place has been there since the 60s, and it's this little locally owned kind of one-off fast food place where they specialize in roast beef sandwiches. And it's like pretty simplistic menu. They got like the roast beef sandwich, and you can do different things. You can add onions and cheese. You can get it served in different ways. You can get it served as a barbecue platter with some different sides and coleslaw and shit. Whatever. It's a couple different ways you can do it. But essentially, the thing to do there is you get yourself a fucking roast beef sandwich. So I go up to the Beefy King, and, it looks like this old dilapidated piece of shit building because everything in Orlando just looks kind of fucking beat up from the 1970s. Go in there, and this place is fucking packing, dude. Everyone's there. It's kumbaya over there. We got like people from all walks of life coming to get their roast beef. And I get to the counter, and I tell the lady there, I'm like, all right, I want to try a roast beef sandwich. Like, what's the thing to do? What's the way people get it? Like, if you only come here once, what's like the signature thing? And she's like, oh, just get it with like cheese and onions. I was like, all right, let's try it. Let's try it. Get a root beer. It's kind of like an old school restaurant. I feel like the root beer is very appropriate here. And they don't do French fries. They do tater tots, which I fucking hate tater tots. I think tater tots are kind of the scum of the earth. It's like tater tots are like when you want to, when mom says we're gonna get pizza tonight, and you're thinking about like getting Pizza Hut or Domino's, and then you get home and they pull out DiGiorno from the freezer. That's like what tater tots are. It's like French fries, fuck yeah. Onion rings, fuck yeah. Tater tots, fucking kill myself. I know where Dad's gun is. Let's do this. So anyway, lo and behold, you wait 2 seconds. This place is super fast. It's like they've been open since the 60s. They got this shit down to a science. Orders there in 2 seconds. They got the fucking lady in the back, and she's just there fucking carving through roast beef all day long. You just watch her just fucking slicing the shit, and they get you your food in like 10 seconds or less. And I sit down, and I gotta be honest. Okay, first of all, Arby's, one of the most underrated fast food restaurants of all time. I like Arby's a lot. I don't go to Arby's for roast beef. I don't really care for a roast beef sandwich. It's like, whatever. It's not bad. It's not amazing. It's whatever. So my expectations for Beefy King are like, whatever. Like, best case scenario, this place is going to be fine. I'm really here more out of obligation. It's like a thing. It's like a rite of passage. If I'm going to live here in Florida, in the central Florida, Orlando, greater Orlando area, I got to try Beefy King at least one day, right? So I sit down, I pull this thing. I'm like, oh, the bread is nice and soft and fluffy. All right, let's give this thing a try. Beefy King, it's good. It's fine. It's good. My takeaway is it is I still stand by it. Roast beef sandwiches. Let's put it this way. A roast beef sandwich is good. I'm not trying to knock it. But like roast beef sandwich versus Cuban. Roast beef sandwich versus Philly cheesesteak. Are you fucking kidding me? Philly cheesesteak. Roast beef sandwich versus like a real nice deli, like an Italian sub or something. Fucking Italian sandwich any day. So that's the thing. It's not that the roast beef sandwich versus a cheeseburger. Roast beef sandwich versus a chicken sandwich. We can go on and on. The thing is, the roast beef sandwich is a fine thing. It's better than the sloppy Joe. I'll give you that. Definitely rate it higher than the sloppy Joe. But at the end of the day, it's just such a low-ranking sandwich overall. So that's kind of where we're at. Now, that being said, I'm not crazy about roast beef sandwiches, but this was the best roast beef sandwich I've ever had in my entire life. Very good. Like, if your average roast beef sandwich can only be like a 6 out of 10 because it's just such a whatever kind of food item, I would say this one was like a 7.5, maybe even an 8. And if you love roast beef sandwiches, oh yeah, you got to try it. It's great. It's phenomenal. But for me, as someone who doesn't really give a shit about the roast beef sandwich, yeah, it's like a 7 out of 10. 7.5. Pretty fucking good though. Bread, super soft, fluffy. The roast beef, incredibly tender. The melty cheese and onions, really nice addition. I really love that twist on it. And then they have their various house-made sauces. They got, of course, a horseradish cream sauce, which I'm kind of weird. I hate horseradish, but I like horseradish cream sauce in very light moderation. Like if I get a prime rib, I'll eat a little bit of horseradish cream sauce, but mostly I'll just fucking kill it in au jus and eat it that way. But I'm trying a little bit of the horseradish sauce. Then they have their house signature sauce, which is horseradish sauce, but it's I think mixed with barbecue sauce or something, and that shit's really good. So I start pouring that shit all over the tater tots and over the sandwich. Also, while we're on the matter, tater tots, just got through telling you how much I hate them. These tater tots are pretty fucking good, not gonna lie. They're the crispiest, saltiest, yummiest tater tots I've ever had. Again, tater tots versus french fries. Tater tots versus onion rings. Tater tots versus, I don't know, fucking mac and cheese. It's just, there's so many better sides. But for tater tots, these are pretty damn good. Probably the best tater tots I've ever had in my life. So overall, I'm going to have to say Beefy King, good price, fast service. It's a historical kind of rite of passage type of place. You got to give it a go. It's got all those things going for it. And the food's pretty good. This place checks out. I'm going to go ahead and say Beefy King, you are a solid, must try Orlando classic establishment. Glad I went there. Am I going to run back to Beefy King? No, because there's so many good restaurants in downtown Orlando. And I like Asian food so much more than Beefy King, than roast beef. And there's a shit ton of good Vietnamese and Japanese restaurants in downtown Orlando. I like fucking I don't know, Italian food. There's so many good Italian restaurants downtown Orlando. I don't know. Beefy King. So I don't know. I'll go back one day for sure though. I got to take my girlfriend. I think she'll like it more than I did. But it is really good. So shout out to the Beefy King. Shout out to the local classic establishment, and shout out to the roast beef sandwich just for this once. But yeah, shout out. So that's it for what I've been eating. Good way to get yourself prepped before fucking 9 hours in the Florida sun watching Dead Kennedys and Alkaline Trio and Guttermouth fucking make you feel like an old man because these guys are in their 60s now. Anyway, not Alkaline Trio, thankfully. But anyway, that's it for what I've been eating. Guys, let's move on to what I've been playing. It's so the Call of Duty Black Ops beta, we're done with all that shit, it's gone. So I'm back to Akimbot. And I thought, oh, this game will be 6 hours long because the last game this studio made, which was Pumpkin Jack, it was a 6-hour game. So I'm 4 hours into it. I'm probably pretty fucking far. Let me just check. I go online. This game's 10 or 11 hours long. I'm nowhere near done with it. Which is, for a $20 game, a lot of value. This game's a shit ton of good value for $20. Here's a couple things I'll say. First time we talked about it, the game was having a lot of screen tearing and performance issues on Xbox. That has since been fixed. I'm having no performance issues on this game, so I can fully recommend this game now, feeling confident that the performance crap has been fixed. But as for the game itself, here's my thing. So this is obviously a love letter to Ratchet & Clank, early Ratchet & Clank games. The opening of the game is really rough. Those first 2 levels, it just drags. The first level is kind of like an intro tutorial level, and it's way too fucking long. And then the second level is basically the first level, but they change the lighting and they play it in reverse. And it's oof, that's bad. It's rough. That first hour of the game, I think, is kind of weak as hell. Now, as soon as you get past that opening of the game that sets everything up, the third level, ooh, it gets really, really good. Levels 3 and 4 and so on, game gets great. It is a really good small team indie developed love letter to classic Ratchet & Clank games from the PS2 era. Highly, highly recommend this game based on those few levels. Level design, super cool. Basic puzzle solving that's super easy but makes you feel smart. Kick-ass guns, twists on the gun mechanics that make you feel like you're not playing a Ratchet & Clank clone, but rather a game that is Ratchet & Clank inspired. Here's the other catch, though. All of the characters and all of the voice acting in this game suck. There are 0 compelling characters in this game. It is so in the original Ratchet & Clank, The original story is that Ratchet and Clank first meet, and they don't really like each other. They kind of have an adversarial relationship, and then throughout the course of the first game, they soften up on each other, and they become like best buds, thick as thieves. And then throughout the series, of course, they're like best friends. It's cute, like Lightning McQueen and Tow Mater. But the problem with this game is both characters, the little bot and the main bot that you play as, have terrible voice acting, terrible writing, and they're incredibly unlikable, and they both suck ass. And they both hate each other, and they never stop hating each other, and they never stop talking, and they never stop bitching about one another to one another. It's terrible. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. My recommendation to you, turn off the fucking volume, skip all the cutscenes, ignore everything. This game's... The overarching narrative is it's fine. Like the bad guy and like what the MacGuffin and like what you're doing throughout the story, it's fine. But oh my god, the main characters suck. They suck so much. But this is a game you're not playing for the narrative. You're not playing it for the characters. You're playing it because you want to play an indie love letter to Ratchet and Clank. See, the previous game they made, Pumpkin Jack, was so perfect because you could tell they didn't have the money for it at the time. There was no voice acting. There was no narrative, really. It's just like, well, there is a narrative, but you read everything. It's like a Nintendo game. You just read text on the screen. And it's way, way, way better. And just, oh my god. So, yeah, I'm really hating the characters. I'm really hating the writing. I really don't like the opening of the game. But once you get past those first few levels, the game gets so fucking fun. The shotgun, really good. The rocket launcher, really good. The minigun, really, really good. The Akimbo guns, the two dual-wielding guns, really, really good. I love how they have like a charge system for ammo instead of like an ammo system. And then you can still upgrade the weapons, and they get all these ridiculous attachments. You have like some wall running mechanics, some light puzzle solving that's super, super easy. It will never stump you, but it'll always make you feel smart. And the platforming just feels good. Like the controls just feel good. The shooting, the moving around, the jumping. It's the perfect floaty feeling without being too floaty. It's a really good feeling game. And then it has like fun, varied missions to spice it up, like driving missions and space combat missions and like on rail, like Death Star run kind of missions. And it all feels really good. It's really fun. It's really simplistic. So I'm overall really enjoying Akimbot. I'm just surprised how long it is for a $20 game. And I just really hate the characters so very much. But after getting through that first hour of the game, I'm really loving the actual game itself. It's a lot of fun. So that's what I'm playing right now. I probably won't get through it this weekend because I'm off Friday, and then I'm flying out to Missouri to go visit some family. So I will be gone the entire weekend with no time to play video games. So I guess next week we'll talk about what I've been reading, because I'll probably be just fucking bringing my Kindle with me for the plane ride. But aside from that, yeah, that's it for what I've been playing. You guys, let's take a quick break. Hop into the news. All right, let's jump into this news about Xbox laying off an additional 650 people. Yay! All right, so not too much to say about this, but obviously we had to cover it. So let's just start out by reading VGC's write-up. Microsoft's cutting another 650 jobs from its gaming division. As first reported by GameFile, Microsoft's head of gaming, Phil Spencer, said last week when the news was shared that employees in the company, he shared the news with employees in a company-wide email. So let me just read the full quote right here, as IGN was able to get a copy of it and put it on their website. They said, or Phil says to the company, quote, "For the past year, our goal has been to minimize disruption while welcoming new teams and enabling them to do their best work. As part of the alignment of our post-acquisition team structure and managing our business, we have made the decision to eliminate approximately 650 roles across Microsoft Gaming, mostly corporate and supporting functions, to organize our business for long-term success. I know that this is difficult news to hear. We are deeply grateful for the contributions of our colleagues who are learning how they are impacted. In the U.S., we're supporting them with exit packages that include severance, extending health care, and outplacement services to help them with their transition. Outside of U.S., packages will differ according to location. With these changes, our corporate and supporting teams and resources are aligned for sustainable future growth, and we can better support our studio teams and business units with programs and resources that can scale to meet their needs. Separately, as part of running the business, there are some impacts to other teams as they adapt to shifting priorities and manage the life cycle and performance of games. No games, devices, or experiences are being canceled, and no studios are being closed as part of the adjustments today. Throughout our team's history, we've had great moments where we have had challenges, and today is one of those challenges. I know that going through more changes like this one is hard, but even though we're through most trying times, the team has always been able to come together and show one another care and kindness as we work to continue to deliver for our players. We appreciate your support as we navigate these changes, and we thank you for the compassion and respect for each other, Phil. This is a little different from some of the previous emails. First of all, shout out to the Nats saying we will, what is it they've said in the past? Like, we will be offering various severance packages in accordance with local laws and regulations. So something really robotic and mechanical and cold like that. Whereas this time they're like, yeah, we're going to offer you severance and help you with like moving on and finding a new job or something, or maybe extending benefits while you look for the next opportunity. So it's like, oh, that's nice, sir. Makes me kind of wonder, because they also mentioned that these jobs are for more structural and, let's see, what does he say? More corporate and supporting functions. So I wonder if this is like, oh, well, we're supporting like 650 higher paying roles for like corporate people. So they're going to offer them better benefits and things like that as they transition out of the company to take care of them. I don't know that that's true. It's just some weird conjecture. But I don't know, man. This is... I get that there's a ton of redundancy, and it's going to take a while of operating this new structure of Xbox to be able to figure out where the overlap is and where the needed and unneeded people are and all that stuff. But it's not a good look to keep having this next round and next round. It's kind of like, I don't know, like I feel like Disney did this a little better a year ago where Bob Iger was like, hey, we're going to lay off like 7,200 people, but we're going to do it in like 3 waves. And not that that was particularly good, because it just meant that you had an entire staff, the entire corporation of people who were like, "Oh my God, okay. I survived wave 1. Am I going to survive wave 2? Oh, guys, survived wave 2. Oh, I hope I make it through wave 3." And like that's its own problem, you know. But I just feel like it's like, all right, are we done yet? You know, and Xbox is like, all right. A few months later, oh, and here's another round. Now, I know they said at one point with the first layoffs, like, hey, we're going to have another round that's going to affect Xbox Game Studios, and so we knew that was coming. But this one's out of left field, right? We didn't know that there was going to be another round, and so you hope that this is the last one. But like, fuck, man. I know things are bad. I know there's redundancies. I know they're probably looking at how Activision assimilates and integrates with Xbox, and then they're going, okay, from there we need to evaluate what we need and what we don't need. And so some of these layoffs are probably layoffs that couldn't have been made at that time of acquisition last year, because they had to get everything together and see how things operate in order to assess and figure out where cuts need to be made. But still, it's just like, I don't know, man. I just, every time I see this, I just think the same thing. It's, wow, here's that whole like, we fought and championed from the social media sidelines for mass consolidation of the industry, and this is what we got. Maybe we'll get that Tony Hawk game. Tony Hawk's, talking about on YouTube videos, maybe. But in the meantime, another 650 people are now out of jobs. So, I mean, it's been 2,500 job cuts for Xbox since the Activision Blizzard acquisition. And, so January, and then what was the next round? It was like June or something. And that's when they closed Tango Gameworks and Arcane Austin and all that. And now here we go, another round of layoffs. So hopefully we're through the worst of it. But goddamn, another 650 people. Just be nice for Xbox to maybe get out of the woods with this one, and to finally maybe put out some great games, get some good PR, and be able to give your people a reason to believe that their contributions and their work are valued and going to pay off and be enjoyed by the community of players that play these games, and rather than just living in fear of when the other shoe is going to drop, and when their time to get laid off is going to come, and also wondering when the hell will there be a good moment for Xbox where it's not like, oh, we fucked up, or oh, this is broken, or oh, this game's delayed, or this game came out and was underwhelming, or these people are getting laid off. It's like, when will the Xbox news just be like, hey, here's the good game, people play it and they like it, and everyone's like, cool, Xbox is cool, the game is good. So I don't know, I'm waiting for that moment. Clearly it's still not here. Maybe Shattered Spaces, Indiana Jones, Avowed, and Black Ops 6 can change that. Maybe. Have to wait and see. All right, that's really it for the big news this week, you guys. It's like I said, important stuff, but nothing too much to talk about. So let's wrap up with some Game Pass games coming soon, as well as a handful leaving. So for the latter half of the month, Wargroove 2 is coming to Cloud Console and PC on September 19th, and Frostpunk 2 is coming to PC Game Pass on September 20th. Finally, on September 24th, Ara History Untold comes to Game Pass via PC Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate. Of course, these are day one Game Pass games, so you have to have Game Pass Ultimate or PC Game Pass in order to get these games. And then on September 30th, the following games will be leaving the service, so give them a go now before they're gone. We're losing Valheim, The Walking Dead Season 2, Walking Dead Complete First Season, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney Trilogy, Paw Patrol Grand Prix, My Time at Porsche, Loop Hero, Let's Build a Zoo, and Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights, a little underrated. I enjoyed that game for what it was. I feel like it's a good Game Pass game. All right, guys, that's going to do it for all of our major news. Let's real quick wrap up with the important enough news. Stories important enough to make the podcast, but not more important enough to warrant their own discussions, starting with some layoffs. Woo! You thought Xbox was everything. Well, this isn't really a layoff. This is kind of something different. So the entire workforce of Annapurna Interactive, the video game publishing division of Annapurna Studio, has resigned. Reported by Bloomberg. So President Nathan Gary and his team resigned following a dispute with the group's owner, Megan Ellison, following a discussion to spin the video game publishing arm out into an independent entity, of which Ellison pulled out. 24 members of the staff resigned from the company. So yeah, all 25 members of Annapurna Interactive team collectively resigned, Gary said in a joint statement. This was one of the coolest. This is one of the hardest decisions we've ever had to make, and we did not take the action lightly. Annapurna Interactive is also known for their critically acclaimed games Outer Wild, Stray, and Cocoon. As reported by GamesIndustry.biz, Annapurna Interactive has been looking more closely to integrate games with TV and film, and has rehired co-founder Hector Sanchez from Epic Games as president of Interactive and New Media. So it's a whole fucking clusterfuck right there. See how that goes. All right. Next up, Dead by Daylight. Developer Behavior Interactive has announced the cancellation of Dead by Daylight spin-off Project T, which was revealed back in May as a 1 to 4 player co-op PvE shooter. Game's now canceled, so cool. Layoffs, resignations, cancellations, Emancipation Proclamation. Also, Beefy King, pretty good. All right, let's move on with the rest of the wrap-up small stories, all of which are not depressing because it's not about people losing their jobs. So this one's a throwback. Here we go. Microsoft's announced plans to bring back friend requests to Xbox. The feature hasn't been used since the Xbox 360 generation, before being replaced with a social media-style follower system when Xbox One launched in 2013, which actually sucks. It's one thing I hate about Xbox in the Xbox One world. An updated friends and followers experience will be made available this week to Xbox insiders in the alpha skip-ahead ring for consoles and users who sign up for PC Gaming Preview on PC. They'll be able to test that it's working as intended before it's rolled out to all players. Quote, Microsoft says, "We're thrilled to announce the return of friend requests. Now you can easily send, accept, or delete friend requests, making it simpler to connect with others. Friends are now a two-way invite-approved relationship, giving you more control and flexibility. Meanwhile, following someone who will remain a one-way connection, allowing you to stay updated with their shared content, whether it's another player, club, or game." I feel like this is the obvious solution that should have always been the case. I hate the follow back thing. I never know if I'm friends with someone on Xbox. It's so weird the way friend requests work. So this is so much better, and this is how it always should have been. Listen, we don't need the social media clout system where it's like, I have more Xbox followers than you. Like, shut up. There's enough stuff ruining everything in the world with that crap. The friends list thing is perfect. Send a friend request to someone you want to be their friend, and they will accept it or deny it. And hopefully that is a person you can play video games with. Because why do you need followers on Xbox? Who's like, I gotta check their Xbox timeline to see what they're doing. It's like, I just don't. Unless you're just trying to buff your Drivatar stats in Forza. It's like, what the fuck are you doing by just following people left and right on Xbox? I don't understand. I don't even understand what my friends list looks like on Xbox anymore. It's been so long since I've sent or accepted or received a friend request. What the fuck even is that? So I just feel like this is just the obvious way that lends itself better to the layout of how video games work and how these platforms operate. I don't know. Can you imagine if on Steam it's like so-and-so is now following you? It's weird. So they're still going to have that, but to be friends and have all those features, you're going to have a proper friend request system, which I welcome. It's a nice change, so I'm glad they're bringing that back. All right, next up, Minecraft studio behind Minecraft. So a support studio behind Minecraft, Reforge, is or 4J, whatever the fuck they're called. Sorry, let me restart. Support studio behind Minecraft, Scotland-based 4J Studios, has announced a new survival sandbox game called Reforge, spelled all weird, Reforj. They're making a current-gen console PC version of this game, and so it's by a bunch of Minecraft support guys, and they're making it alongside a bunch of Minecraft YouTubers and channel content creator people. So it'll probably have some internet buzz around this game. Electronic Arts has said that Respawn is developing the final chapter in the Star Wars Jedi story. So, we knew it was supposed to be a trilogy. This is no surprise, but they're at work on the next entry. Next up, EA also says, and developer Full Circle have announced that Skate, which has been in playtest for over a year, will be released in early access next year. Full Circle provided a little information about the game's early access and said that the game will be released confirmed that it's coming to consoles as well as PC. Players interested in early access can sign up on Skate's insider page on Skate or EA.com or whatever, but a start date has not been set yet. This is kind of weird that this is out there doing Skate. I feel like this is a game that should just come out as a game, but it's kind of weird that I guess it's a really community-focused game, so they're taking advantage of that early access playtest, kind of help us build this game kind of thing, which will probably be good for the game in the long run, especially if it's a game you're trying to make that is going to have an ongoing community angle to it, not just be like a one-time release and be done kind of game. But I find it weird. It's like Skate is such a big name, and early access is such like an indie game thing to do. It's so odd. Next up, THQ Nordic has announced Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition for Xbox Series X, featuring 4K visuals, ray tracing, enhanced lighting, shadows, and improved load times. Haptic feedback for PS5 and upgrade tilt with hit control for current consoles on October 15. That's when this will come out. It'll be $30 US, but there's a $50% discount on Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition for Xbox One until October 14th. And owners of this version will automatically unlock new features on Xbox Series X and S upon release via smart delivery. Next up, and finally, Mojang have announced plans to drop support for PlayStation VR for Minecraft in early 2025. This feature was originally implemented in September 2020, but now, presumably due to the fact that no one uses PSVR, they're dropping support. So there's that. Guys, that's going to do it for all of our news this week. Now it's time for the best, the final, and only segment worth a damn. The comments, the shoutouts, youtube.com/XboxOnPodcast. You know how it works. You go to youtube.com/XboxOnPodcast, click on the latest episode, and drop a comment there. You can say anything nice, anything mean, anything in between. But what I really ask that you do, if you have the time and you use Apple Podcast services or any kind of podcast service, is that you leave a review. You leave a like, leave a comment, leave a 5-star review. I don't want a 4-star review. It's going to hurt my numbers. Just say nice things. And if you feel like this show is genuinely a 3 or a 4 out of 5, either one of two things. Don't leave a review, or just lie and leave a 5-star review anyway. I don't care if the review says, I hate this show, it's just okay, whatever, host is kind of annoying. Just put 5 stars so the algorithm goes, ooh, this is a good show. Let's push it to more people. Thank you. Thank you for your understanding. Please and thank you. All right, we're going to read these comments in the order in which they were received. I'm just going to be a lazy asshole in that way. I'm not going to lie. So starting with a couple of comments that we got kind of after recorded last week before the podcast went live. HD Hobbs writes in and says, PlayStation just announced the PS5 Pro, and of course, the big talking point is the $700 price tag. Since this is a Pro model, it's technically a mid-gen refresh, meaning that it is highly likely the next-gen console will be even more expensive. This has me somewhat concerned that the next Xbox could be $800 or more. At what point does this hobby become too expensive? I think it's very likely that the PS6 and the Xbox Series, whatever's next, could absolutely be $800. I think that's a very plausible scenario. And I think that's kind of fine. Here's the thing. On Xbox, it's nice because Xbox explores the gamut. You can get the handheld, which will be substantially cheaper. You can get the Series X replacement, which will probably be a lot more expensive. My guess is $700 or $800. Or you can play it on your PC, or you can stream it from your phone, or you can play it on your tablet, or you can whatever, because Xbox, or you can get a PlayStation and play everything there because Xbox is now apparently a PlayStation publisher. So, I mean, you can kind of do whatever with Xbox. They have an outlet and a place to play for everyone. But here's the long and short of it, man. This stuff is just expensive, and I feel like people think that like their chain is getting yanked on this, but it's like, no, these components are expensive. These consoles are more powerful than ever before, and these are luxury items. And with inflation being what it is, it's like, yeah, man, shit's caught up at this point. It's like we gotta make a profit on these boxes. We gotta sell them at a reasonable price that makes sense for us as a business to sell them. And in the grand scheme of things, it's like, I don't know, $600, $700 for a box that you're gonna keep for 6 years and play games with every week. It seems like a pretty good value, considering you can't go to a concert for less than $50 anymore, considering you can't go to a fast food restaurant for less than $20 anymore, considering you can't really do jack shit. You can't buy eggs and bacon for less than $20 at the grocery store now. It's like, I just don't see the breakdown in value, and I'm not trying to be a dick about it. It's like, I get that it's expensive. I'm not trying to say $700-$800 isn't a lot of money. Of course it's a lot of money, but like, I don't know, man. People upgrade their phones all the time, unnecessarily so. Like the phone you need, the phone, like if a phone is just a utilitarian item, the phone you need is like $600 and you can subsidize it from your phone carrier. But people are regularly buying the $1,300 phone and upgrading every year or 2 years instead of 4 or 5 years, which is what they really need to be doing. So it's like, I don't know. It's like, why do we have such low expectations for what everything else is worth? But for video games, it's like $700 for a box I'm going to use pretty much every day for the next 6 years of my life. No fucking thank you. It's like, is that such a bad value? I don't think so. And when you think about like the PS5 Pro, apparently Digital Foundry was like comparing it, and they're like, you can't even build a PC with the same specs as the PS5 Pro for $700. So like, you know, bulk at the price all you want, but like, that's a good price for the performance you're getting out of this machine. Now, you might think, I don't see the difference in performance. That's because we're at the point where it's like, you know, diminishing returns with this hardware, where it's the same thing with phones. It's like phones are just so powerful and so capable that it's so funny that every time a new iPhone comes out, Apple's like, the new Apple A4G processor chip is 3 times faster than last year's model. And you're like, damn. Last year's model was so fast, I didn't even notice my phone was slow. And then you pick up the new version, you're like, I don't even notice it's faster because the old one was so fast that the phone wasn't even taking full advantage of it. And now this new phone isn't taking full advantage because it's just so good. And that's kind of where we are with consoles and stuff too. It's like, yeah, I mean, these things are pretty much just so fucking good, it doesn't matter. I mean, the only real thing we're chasing after at this point is just trying to get 60 FPS with ray tracing and 4K visuals all running in tandem with no hiccups. And I know that's what we're gunning for, but that's some power intensive shit. And that would be expensive to pull off on any PC, let alone a home console. So I don't know, man. I just think about like my Xbox Series S and how that was $300. I'm like, that's a fucking steal for what you can do with that machine and how much value and how many years of entertainment you can get out of that. And I just think about like how when Xbox does their next generation of hardware, there's going to be 2 or 3 SKUs for people to choose from. And like, I don't know, man, like if you don't like the idea of a $700 or $800 Series X replacement, there's going to be a $400 probably replacement for the Series S. And the thing is, that device is probably going to be just packed full of fucking value for something you can use for 5 to 7 years and feel good about your money spent. It's just, I don't know, man. We can't always look back. And I'm not trying to be a dick to you specifically. I do want to be clear about that, HD Hobbs. Like, I think you're asking a completely valid and fair question. It's just like, we all know the $17,000 car is dead. 5, 7, 8 years ago, you could go to a car dealership and you could get like a Nissan Versa or a Toyota Echo or something for like $16,000, $17,000 brand new. Good fucking luck buying any car on the market for under like 28 grand, 30 grand today. It's not going to happen. You used to be able to buy a house in a lot of normal places in America that weren't major cities for like $150,000, $200,000, $220,000. You can't fucking buy a house in this country for like under 350 grand now. It's just, I'm not saying like that's the way it is, get used to it, but I'm just trying to say it's like everything else is so hyperinflated when you compare like the value and the cost and the value. But like, I don't know, man, the fact that it's like my Xbox is going to go from being $500 for the most premium edition to like $700 or $800, it's like, I feel like that's a small price to pay for a box I'm going to interface with almost every day for the next 6 years of my life. And if you don't have to have the ultimate best Xbox on the market, there's going to be like a cheaper one. that's going to be pretty fucking good. Because one thing I will say as someone who owns and uses Series S and Series X on a regular basis is that the Series S is phenomenal, and 99% of people should buy the Series S over the Series X. But I know for the hardcore, it doesn't work that way. It's like, I gotta have the best one. I'm telling you right now, the majority of people, like, if God came down from heaven and said, Jesse, you cannot use the Series X anymore, you can only use the Series S, I'd be like, I'll be fine with that. Like, if you use the Series X, you will get Lou Gehrig's disease. I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know, man. It's like, I'll be okay with the Series S. It's pretty damn great. Games run great on it. They look great on it. I love it. It's fast and snappy and does all the same things as the Series X for the most part. It's just, I feel like there's so much, like, I don't know. There's so much, like, arbitrary inflated pressure on people to be like, I'm a fan of this brand. I gotta get the most expensive one, but it's like, I don't think you necessarily have to. And I don't necessarily think Xbox and PlayStation should be pricing people out of these consoles. But, like, I don't know. Everything today is like, there's a regular trim, there's a premium trim, and there's an ultra trim. Just don't get the ultra trim if you don't agree with the price point. But there's always going to be something for you. And regardless of which decision you make, I just personally feel like the value's there. So I don't know, man. These consoles are very powerful. I understand people feel like they should be more powerful and more capable for what they are. And then that gets into a whole debate that I'm not qualified to speak on about, are developers using these consoles power and capabilities as savvy as a way as they could, or is there a better way they could tap more into what these consoles are powerful or capable of? Maybe. Is it a whole thing of like these consoles are poorly optimized, or they promise us features and benefits that they don't actually have? I don't know. All I can tell you is that games look and run way better on my new Xboxes than they did on my Xbox One a few years ago. I like how fast the console is. I love quick resume. I just like my Xboxes a lot, and I'm pretty fucking happy with both of them. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. I'm not saying I'm looking forward to paying even more for my next Xbox, but I totally understand it, and I totally think $700 to $800 is not unrealistic. Now, to add some silver lining to it, Xbox One X in 2017, which was a Pro model, was $500. And then 3 years later, the Series X came out and was the next generation. It was also $500. So by that logic, you could see a world where maybe the next Xbox is $700 or the next PlayStation is $700, and maybe that is the cap for now. Maybe we don't get to $800, but I wouldn't be surprised in any case, is I guess what I'm trying to say. But I appreciate you writing in. I totally see the concern. Like, next up, Objects in Space writes in and says, $1,200 Australian for PS5 Pro? $1,360 with the disc drive? I'm floored. Like, yeah, that's fucking outrageous. I get it. I don't understand Australian dollars enough to know like what that translates to in US, but it's fucking insane. I get it. So I don't know. Like, I'm torn. Like, I know, we're used to a certain thing. Money's tough. Actually, let me get some context for this. USD to okay, let's see the conversion difference for an Australian dollar and a US dollar. So, all right. $1 US is about $1.50 Australian. So, that's actually not, so that means a $700 PS5 Pro is, $1,040 or so Australian. So that is actually a little slimy, because you are getting charged like an extra $150 premium for no fucking reason for being Australian. And I see that is the case. Also in the UK, I saw that as well, where like it costs a lot more. Like the British pounds cost for a PS5 Pro is like significantly more than the US costs. And I don't really know the answer to that. I know it has to. I know like most economies in the world are kind of doing shitty right now, and even though the U.S. economy and the U.S. dollar is not particularly strong and where we want it to be relative to some other major economies, it is relatively doing well. So I don't know if that plays into it. I don't know if it's because the U.S. is such a big market for home consoles that they're able to be more competitive with the price because they know they have a way bigger market to sell to and to penetrate. And so for smaller markets like Australia, maybe it's like, all right, there are fewer sales to be made here. So in order to justify being this market, we're going to have to charge even more of a premium than what we charge in the US. I don't know. I don't know how it works, and I'm not going to pretend to know, but I agree. That sounds like a lot of fucking money, man. Paying what does that come out to? Like basically $850 US or something like that. It's a lot of fucking money for PS5 Pro. But if you really are against this, I would encourage you to not buy it. Like, be like, all right, we draw the fucking line. This is where we say this is too much. You know, maybe go, I don't know what else you're going to do, because it's still probably the cheapest way to play games aside from streaming shit. So, you know, maybe not buy the Pro version or the X model or whatever, but buy the cheaper model, or maybe just don't play at all, because I don't think you're going to get on a gaming PC for any better of a price than what PlayStation and Xbox are charging for their consoles. I just think this is an unfortunate, inevitable reality that we all have to face. And so I'm not trying to be a dick about it. Again, I'm just trying to say, this is just where we are. Everything sucks. Everything's expensive, and the economies around the world are fucking failing. It looks like. I don't know. I'm sorry, man. That especially sucks. I feel for my friends out there in other countries who are paying way more. I think in Japan it's also like incredibly expensive compared to the U.S. Corny Puddle writes in, and well, also thank you guys for writing in. Corny Puddle writes in and says, "Oh boy, I turned 30 earlier this year. I hope it treats you better." It's giving me a lot of anxiety. I'll tell you that much, Corny Puddle. Mike Clark says, Xbox On Podcast, the finest Xbox podcast on the web, persists with no listeners, save for a few of us in the realm of imagination. Sorry, I wasn't trying to make you feel like you didn't matter. The takeaway is to be cautious with Microsoft, particularly regarding AI. They've been known to set high expectations and not always meet them, and their AI initiatives are not immune to the pattern. Regarding Jesse, there's no fresh Xbox news this week aside from another wave of layoffs at Microsoft. So essentially, it's the same old situation. Space Marine 2, it's worth the dollars. Well, Mike Clark, thank you for writing in. I'll be honest, I'm so scatterbrained, I don't even know what any of that's in reference to, but you have another comment here, so we'll go from there. My PS5 Pro, or PS5 Professional. Picture this. The new gadget drops. Nobody knows if it'll turn to Dragon's Dogma 2, or if it'll turn Dragon's Dogma 2 into a masterpiece, or just add more fuel to the dumpster fire for the glitchy Unreal Engine 5 titles that no spec tweak can salvage. The teaser's a big sell. It's like a fairy godmother for us gamers. We're already living the best life on PS4. Why not zoom in 60 times and see the quote-unquote improvements on the game that's basically an emo band's music video? Meanwhile, they're all already hardware glitz, blissfully ignoring the software sweatshop and the ticking time bomb of the tech's lifespan. Sorry, I'm reading this off my phone and I'm getting eye fatigue. As every studio that's not Insomniac plays Where's Waldo with the next big release. The PS5 Pro hits the wall at $700, sans disk drive and vertical stand. Tack those on, plus tax, you're flirting with a $900 bill. I mean, well, you don't need the disk drive, and the vertical stand is completely optional. Although I agree, for $30, they might as well just throw it in the box. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here not exactly cheering for mid-gen refreshes. However, part of the console gaming charm is watching devs become wizards with the hardware, conjuring up increasingly complex games with their technology sandbox. See Nintendo for the latter. All right, so here's the thing about the devs and getting the most performance out of these consoles. One way we can definitely get a lot more out of these consoles is to scale back video games. You can probably do a lot of cool tricks to make games look and run better if your game isn't trying to be a fucking jack of all trades. If your game isn't trying to be Fortnite meets Destiny all the goddamn time and doesn't have the biggest open world map and 3,000 hours of gameplay, you might be able to get a lot of performance and a lot of visual fidelity and a lot of cool tricks pulled out of the console for your game by just not focusing all your time and energy and resources into beefing up a fucking game for the sake of being like, don't worry guys, this game's worth $70. Look at how many checkboxes there are. Look at how big the map is. So I think that's a little bit of the answer there, but I hesitate to call developers lazy. Not that that's what you're saying here, Mike Clark, but I hesitate to call any developer lazy or just inept as far as what they're getting out of these consoles. I think it's just gaming projects have way too many cooks in the kitchen. The teams are way too big, and the scale and scope of these games is way too much to where it's harder than ever before to make a slim, narrowly focused, project that's going to be like, okay, this is what we want to do. This is how we aim to make it. Let's execute. Nowadays, it's just like, here's a bunch of shit, a million departments, and a million people we have to interact with to make this dream a reality. We got to scale it for PC, PS4, Xbox, PS5, Series X, everything. And I just think if we could scale back the need for games to be so much and so big and all the rest, we might be able to get more quality out of these games and less quantity. But I think it kind of plays into that. So Cronky speaks to this point and says, I hate to say it, but I still blame developers, not publishers, for the current state of the games industry. I don't think publishers push for longer dev cycles. I think developers need to become constrained more. But since they weren't, the market has now been trained to only spend money on the highest quality games, and everything else should be free to them. While I agree to that to extent, I can't fully buy into this comment, Cronky, because if there's a big publisher involved in a game, they're absolutely to blame, because they're the one funding the project and putting their producers on the project and saying, hey, where are we on this? What's the timeline? What's the game we're making? What are we doing? What's next? How long till it's ready? I don't think these people would be blindly approving games that take a million years to make and have bloated visions just for the sake of adding more content, if it weren't for the fact that they think the game needs to take that time and needs to be all of that in order to sell to a mass market. So I think publishers are absolutely to blame alongside developers. But yeah, it's a lot of trend chasing. I think that's what it really comes down to. Everything in gaming, just like everything everywhere, is all about trend chasing. Why can't you fucking look at the Walt Disney World Twitter account without cringing anymore? Because the Walt Disney Twitter account has to stoop down to the level of a 28-year-old childless millennial who has to be like, here's everything I ate at the food and wine booth this year. Yummy, yummy. You should definitely check out this year's event. Definitely a broad reference everyone caught. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird when social media accounts have to ape the performative nature of a content creator in order to appeal to a mass audience. But that's the world we live in. And the publishers and the developers aren't comfortable with and feel free to make the games they want to make because they're too busy trend chasing and going, well, this is what's selling, this is what's getting engagement, this is what's getting play hours, this is what's getting season passes and cosmetic skins sold, so we gotta follow this trend. And that's not like a knock against like an Apex Legends or a Fortnite or anything. It's just a knock against this world that is so creatively devoid of just anything fun in any sense, and also just so fucking afraid to take a chance and do something. And that's why it's like you see a game like Space Marine 2 blow up. It's like, I wonder why. People are fucking eager for not more of this shit that we're getting. So, I don't know. I think publishers are to blame. I gotta get off my soapbox here, but I think publishers are equally to blame. I don't see how you can blame the guy creating the project when the guy who is funding the project is also not holding that guy responsible. It's like saying you blame the employee for fucking up, but not the manager who's responsible for overseeing the work they do and training and developing said employee. So it's like the buck's got to stop with someone, and that's the whole point of a manager, a publisher, a funder. So I just agree to disagree for the most part there. Mr. Mauk says, all right, let's read this, baby. I'm in full agreement with you, Jesse. I really want to play Astrobot. It's tempting me to pull the trigger on a PS5. I was eyeing the Pro until they announced it. $700 with no disc drive? Ouch. Maybe I'll get a used PS5 one of these days and I'll buy Astrobot brand new physically. Yeah, I mean, you can get a refurbished PS5 on the PlayStation Direct store for like, I think it's like $400 or $450. So there you go. You could do that. Yeah, I'm shocked that there's just still no affordable way to get in the door. PlayStation's kind of crazy. Sometimes you can get a Series S for $250. But you still can't get like any version of a PlayStation for like under $450. It's absolutely insane. And that discless $400 of the PS5 is such a fucking lie. I can't believe like no one holds Sony accountable for this, but that is a made up piece of shit console. Like it never existed. I know someone listening is like, but Jesse, I bought one. Look, shut up. The overwhelming majority of people never were able to get their hands on that $400 discless PS5, and now they just don't even offer it anywhere. It's such a fucking lie that thing existed. But yeah, I think it's kind of crazy how high they've been able to maintain that price. I mean, the demand's clearly fucking there. People are just that much more drawn to just buy the thing that everyone else has, I guess, because it's like Xbox will be like, here, we'll give you a month of Game Pass for free and an Xbox for $200. Take the fucking thing. And people are like, yeah, right, I'm going to go spend $500 on a PlayStation 5 and then bitch about the price of the Pro model online. Thank you very much. It's like, all right, I don't know how to help you at that point. We've reached an impasse here. All right, Mike Balboa writes in and says, you want a PS5 to play Spider-Man 2 and Astrobot, but I can live without Spider-Man because I've outgrown that kid stuff. The last time I played Spider-Man was on the Xbox 360. It was Amazing Spider-Man. The last Spider-Man movie game that I watched was Andrew Garfield's version, so I'm kind of burnt out on those games, movies, and TV shows. It's crazy how stuff escapes you that you used to love. Well, I don't know. I don't think Spider-Man constitutes as kid stuff, but I will say very much so. I've certainly not outgrown Spider-Man. I will say with full confidence, Spider-Man's been like my favorite fucking character since I was like 4 years old, and I still very much love Spider-Man to this day. In fact, as I said last week, I've been very much on a Marvel kick lately. So I subscribed to Marvel Unlimited. I've been reading comics out the butt, reading fucking X-Men and Spider-Man comics. I've been watching Spider-Man cartoons and X-Men cartoons on Disney Plus. I don't know what to say about you, man, but I love me some Spider-Man. I don't think there's anything to outgrow with Spider-Man. That's probably the most relatable. I mean, that's why everyone loves Spider-Man, right? He's like the most relatable fictional character of all time, right? Like everyone feels like Spider-Man sometimes when life just kicks you in the fucking balls and you're like, I'm going to try to do the right thing and then get shit on for doing it. It's like, that's the cool superhero. Everyone wants to be like Spider-Man. Everyone wants to be richer than Spider-Man and have better luck than Spider-Man, but still be him because he's the fucking coolest. So I don't know about you, but good for you that you outgrew that stuff. It's true, man. Yes, it is crazy how something you love can escape you. That's how I feel with Nintendo, to be honest. I remember a day that wasn't that long ago, when I used to be like, fuck yeah, new Pokemon game, I can't wait to pre-order that shit, and like, the new Nintendo this and that, and everything, man. I was so obsessed with Nintendo, and nowadays it's just like, sometimes I'm like, I gotta back off on how much I some of it's a little bit of like a showman thing, for the podcast, I play it up for entertainment value, but sometimes I'm like, damn, I gotta ease off on Nintendo. I love that. I fucking love that brand. I love that company. I love all that shit. I mean, that's so much of my childhood, and yeah, it's crazy. You grow past things, you outgrow things, or your opinions and your feelings just change. It's part of life. Nothing. I mean, it's interesting to look back and amuse on it, but I mean, it's normal. Totally fucking normal. I mean, I used to love, I don't know I used to love Thomas the Tank Engine. Now I think we should kidnap Thomas the Tank Engine and rip his engine out and make him all electric so he's environmentally friendly. What do you think about that, kids? Young children growing up with Thomas the Tank Engine? I don't even know if that's still around, to be honest. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying, so let's just move on. Thank you for writing in, Mike Balboa. Anthony Jerry writes in and says, you saying this generation of gaming is overwhelming is what you and other grown men say because gaming has always been for kids. You will never hear a kid talking about how gaming isn't the same. If you want to go have fun, go plug in that Game Boy Advance and put those fries in the bag, bro. I'm going to be honest with you, Anthony Jerry. First of all, thank you for writing in. I appreciate it. Second of all, and I mean this with all due respect, I have no fucking clue what you're saying in this comment. I'm just going to be honest with you. So let me read it again and then stop and try to make sense of it and then continue on and just try to break this up. You saying this generation of gaming is overwhelming is what you and other grown men say because gaming has always been for kids. No. Nope. Gaming has not always been for kids. Gaming has never been strictly for kids and will never be strictly for kids. I mean, explain M-rated games if games are for kids. That makes no fucking sense. So I don't know if that's what you're trying to say, if I'm just misreading your words, but I don't get it. No, gaming is not for kids and will never be. I mean, obviously there are games aimed at kids. There are, of course, I mean, it's an all ages entertainment medium. There are movies aimed at kids. Doesn't mean Schindler's List is for children. I don't understand what the point is, So I agree to disagree. And then you say, you'll never hear kids talking about how gaming isn't the same. Well, that's because kids aren't old enough to feel nostalgia yet, although they probably do. I'm sure there are 8-year-olds who are nostalgic for being 6 because that's the world social media has created, where we're just always looking back and reminiscing and never appreciating anything in front of our faces. But I wasn't deeply nostalgic for my childhood when I was a child, but yes, now that I am pushing 30, I'm deeply nostalgic for my childhood. I feel like that is a pretty normal experience to go through. But yeah, I mean, if you want to have fun gaming, go plug in that Game Boy Advance and put the fries in the bag, bro. I mean, I would love to go back and play my Game Boy Advance, which I absolutely still have, actually, but I'm too busy having fun with all the modern games coming out right now. I don't understand. Gaming is overwhelming because there are so many good games all the time to play, and there's just not enough time to play them all. My problem isn't that I need to go back and play old games or be a kid again. My problem is just that I just don't have the free time or the energy to play all the games I wish I could play. That's really the plain and short of it. But Anthony Jerry, thank you for writing in. I hope you're having a great week, and I hope putting fries in the bag is a good thing to say. I just don't know because I'm painfully ignorant and out of touch. And yeah, I'm almost 30. Please go easy on me. Angie writes back at Angie Bayon. I'm sorry, Angie. I can't read. I'm illiterate. I'm an English major with a literature concentration, and I can't read. Blame the University of Georgia, which I didn't go to, but I did go to Georgia State University, and you can blame them for that. Angie says, wow, I'm so happy that you responded to me. Thanks for clearing up the reason why disc games need to be installed. I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it doesn't apply to Xbox, because what did Microsoft gain from making disc games having to be installed? The best-selling Xbox game of all time is from the Xbox 360 generation, and the best-selling Xbox console is the 360. So they did all of that and still haven't outsold the Xbox 360. And if you think about it, a lot of Xbox 360 games still hold up well and look like next-gen. So we can argue disc games shouldn't have to install, since a lot of Xbox 360 games still look like next-gen. But to get off topic, why do well, let me just stop there. Xbox 360 games do not look next-gen at all. I fully disagree. I will agree that a lot of Xbox 360 games look good enough that if that's where gaming still was, if that's what games still looked like, I would be completely fucking fine with that, because I don't care about high fidelity at all. But I will not agree that Xbox 360 games look next gen. I mean, you put Gears of War 2 up against Gears of War 5? No. You put Halo 3 up against Halo Infinite? No. You put Forza Motorsport fucking 3 up against the new Forza Motorsport from last year? There's a night and day difference. These games look drastically different. Now, do those Xbox 360 games look good still? And do they age well? And are they still fun to play? Fuck yeah. But they don't look next gen. Let's be honest about that. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for games not trying to push the boundaries of aesthetics and graphics so that we can focus more on gameplay mechanics, shorter dev cycles, and a healthier situation, a healthier development cycle and structure in the games industry. I'm all for that. I don't give a shit. To me, I don't think games need to look any better than Sonic Unleashed, to be honest. All right, anyway. All right, so you said, let's go off topic. Why do all PS5 games look the same? Open world with realistic looking man/woman in forest killing zombies, at least with Xbox. It doesn't have a specific look and style with the games, because PlayStation games like Days Gone, Mad Max, Metal Gear Solid, Uncharted, Just Cause 4 all look very much the same. Well, Just Cause and Mad Max are also available on Xbox, to be clear. The only games I will ever give a pass to is The Last of Us Part 2, but I was losing my mind trying to find a game to play on PS5, and one on Series X, it was easier to find games to play. Well, I mean, that's just a matter of personal preference, I would assume, right? But yeah, I mean, I would agree that generally speaking, Xbox has more visual variety, but I think there's multiple reasons for that. PlayStation has found great success with the third-person, single-player, narrative-driven game, and that is why they want God of War to conform to the Uncharted Last of Us formula, and that's why, you know, Days Gone and the last or Ghost of Tsushima and all these games kind of conform to this Naughty Dog formula of game that PlayStation has been wildly successful with. They have the money, the production talent, and the producer talent to help shepherd these types of games, and they've been really good at doing that, and so they're going to continue to do that. And that's why Horizon, Last of Us, Uncharted, Ghost of Tsushima, Days Gone, all the rest kind of look like the same game, even though they're all vastly different from one another, because it's what PlayStation's good at, and they're going to keep chasing that money. Xbox, on the other hand, Xbox is so different because Xbox has no fucking culture when it comes to their studios. Because they just buy shit. They don't cultivate anything. And so why does Starfield look so different from Halo, look so different from Psychonauts 2? Because the only thing those things have in common is that all three of those companies got bought out by Xbox. So, yeah, all three of the developers just got purchased by Xbox. So, yeah, I mean, why do the Toyota Camry and the Toyota Corolla look kind of similar, look kind of related? Because they're both by Toyota. But that doesn't, fucking a dealership that is agnostic and sells Subarus and Fords and Chevys and Toyotas, it all looks ridiculously different. It's like a Frankenstein dealership. It's not one car maker model, and that's the difference between PlayStation and Xbox. Is PlayStation has built their talent and cultivated their culture and their talent and their look, and Xbox has purchased their way to where they are today. And I say that with a little bit of resentment towards Xbox because I wish they had more of a culture internally that they kind of cultivated and built outward. But also the good news and the good side of all that is, with Xbox, I feel like we get way more variety, way more visual variety and everything with games. Like South of Midnight looks nothing like State of Decay, looks nothing like Avowed, and I look forward to all three of those games because of how different and interesting they all are separate from one another. So it's a great thing we have on Xbox, but it's also, there's a clear-cut reason for it, So but I tend to agree with you. I gravitate towards a lot more of what we have on Xbox than what they have on PlayStation. Not always the case. Astro Bot and Spider-Man 2, they look pretty good. But Angie, thank you for writing in. Hope you have a wonderful week. Hopefully we see you again soon. 5-star reviews, iTunes, 5-star only. If you're feeling 4 stars, just don't review. I'll save you the time. Cronky writes in, we're going to skip that one because, actually, no, let's touch on it real quick. He said, Conquer would be a better response to Astro Bot for Xbox. I understand it loses that Mario Pixar-esque charm, but it plays to Xbox's strength, which has always been a slightly older crowd, Halo Gears as the poster child of the brand. Make a new Conquer, go all out with the extremely raunchy humor, that kind of South Park, you can't joke about that kind of thing. I think you are onto a good point. I mean, if you did Conquer and you basically make it like Deadpool, like that shit would fucking hit. Especially because we live in a world where kids aren't kids anymore. They basically come out of the womb and they're already fucking e-vaping and showing their tits on fucking OnlyFans. So yeah, we might as well just skip straight to the point where Xbox is like, fuck the 3D platformer like Mario. Let's just do a Deadpool Conquer South Park thing. And it's like, I feel like that'd be pretty fucking on point with today's audience. Actually, it's a pretty good idea, actually. I agree. Also, Cronk, you said, I'm really tempted to get a PS5 Pro. I think I'll be able to resist, but honestly, I'm so tired of how underpowered our consoles are due to the undisciplined studios. So I'm kind of desperate for hardware that can run games better. I think we're going to have to skip on that one because I feel like we kind of touched on this, but I thought it was funny. Some guy responded to you and said, just build a PC, dude. I mean, dude, the PC's expensive. I just don't understand. I have a PC right now that I bought 3 years ago. It's a pre-built PC. This thing cost me, I think I paid like $1,000 for this PC. It costs twice as much as my Series X. I don't know how much more powerful it is than my Series X, but games don't look and run all that much better on this thing. So I don't understand the whole buy a PC thing. Like, fuck PC, dude. Shut up. Fuck PC. It's an Xbox podcast, not a PS5 podcast. God damn it. All right, let's. I'm starting to lose it. Sorry, no disrespect to anyone. I'm starting to lose it. So let's wrap up with our final commenter, my favorite commenter because he has the biggest fucking schlong you've ever seen. Headhunting Halo, and he says, I have 100% Assassin's Creed Mirage yesterday. Y'all, every achievement. Also been playing Gory Cuddly Carnage. It's a very fun game. Has anyone else had issues with getting Space Marine 2 Physical Edition? Everywhere is sold out, and I have actually had a couple of friends order through GameStop pre-order, and they never got copies in. I think the game is just a lot more popular than they thought it would be, and because physical media is so unpopular these days, they probably printed far fewer copies than they thought they needed because the game ended up being way more popular than they expected. But you got to understand, over 90% of games sold these days statistically are digital, so these people aren't making like crazy numbers of physical copies of games anymore because that's just not how people are playing games anymore. So I understand like it seems so disproportionate because in the hardcore space, in the fandom space, it seems like disproportionately people prefer physical media, but that is the exception. The majority of people prefer digital. The majority of people are well balanced like I am, not like you. They're like me, and they digitally download their games because they don't want to get off the couch, walk over to the entertainment center, find a disc, and pop it into their Xbox every time they want to play a game. They don't want to have a shelf full of clutter of green cases that are destroying the environments. You're fucking killing the ozone layer. You hate the turtles in the sea. It's your fault. They're all dying. And, they buy the physical media. But me, I'm a saint. I'm a fucking goddamn genius. I go onto the Xbox Marketplace and I buy Marvel Midnight Suns for $17.99. Yes, that is how much it's on sale for right now. It is a great deal. I highly recommend it. I have almost pulled the trigger on it 3 times this week alone. Physical, you're not going to get that kind of deal. What are you going to do? Go on Mercari and buy it for $12 from some incel from Minnesota? You're going to look like an idiot. Your mom's going to laugh at you when she sees it come in the mail. She's going to say, You fucking waited a week and a half for this piece of shit to come in the mail. You could have just downloaded it. You idiot. You stupid moron idiot. God, I wish I didn't have you. I wish you weren't my kid. I wish that kid down the street was my kid because he's a smarter kid. He downloads all of his games. He doesn't play on PC. I love how like this is the hypocrisy. I'll just wrap up on this. This is a funny anecdote. I'm not trying to get preachy. I love how the big hypocrisy of the hardcore gaming industry or scene, like the player base, like hardcore gaming fans. Everyone has two things to say to everything that happens in gaming. The first thing is, bro, just play on PC. And the second thing is, bro, I buy physical games. I don't do digital games. But the thing I don't understand is, PC is digital only. We haven't bought physical games for PC since I was like fucking in diapers. So I don't understand what the fuck's going on. We're all supposed to abandon consoles and jump over to PC, but PC don't got no fucking disk drive for your goddamn World of Warcraft, you dumb idiot. So what do you want? Please make up your mind. Tell me what the fuck I'm supposed to do. Please. Don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Thank you for writing in Headhunting Halo. Thank you all for listening to the Xbox On podcast. Clearly we didn't keep it short and sweet. We're at almost 2 hours, but oh well. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Remember, 5-star reviews. If you feel inclined to leave anything less than 5-star reviews, let me do you a favor and just say, don't write a review. Save yourself the time. You look tired. Have a great week. Be safe, be well. Eat Beefy King or not. Maybe you're vegetarian. I don't give a shit. Do what you want to do. Just be safe, be well. Be good to those you love. And until next week, power your dreams.